Let's say we are saying how by being able to practice mindfulness of every arising, that is psychophysical conditioned psychophysical phenomena in the yogis, the universal characteristic of impermanence and so on. Seeing the arising and passing away, arising and passing away, one feels terror, terrified. Seeing the danger, and one becomes disgusted, dispassionate. Then one develops a desire for deliverance. So since all along the lifetimes, one has been accustomed to the perception of permanence, pleasure, and self or soul, yogi had to exert a lot in order to weaken it and let go of it. Hence the practice of knowledge of reflection, patisankhaññāna, repeatedly practicing the mindfulness, noting them again and again, so as to see more of impermanent nature of things, and then a lot of pain, especially the excruciating sensations arising in the body, seeing the whole body as a mass of suffering, and also being tortured by the arising, passing away of mind-body projects, mind-body objects. One gets very much disgusted, dispassionate as regards the mind-body. So one wishes to, seeing this, one wishes to be free from that. After one becomes free from that, after one is being delivered from such torturous elements, torturous things, one is able to carry on with one's mindfulness in a very good way. There's a good noting afterwards, and this kind of change from terror, danger, and disgust and desire for deliverance have been given with the simile of catching the fish. Before, the yogi was able to observe the three characteristics called anicca, dukkha, anatta, and by way of these impermanence and so on, one feels delighted and become attached to sensualities such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, as regards one's mind-body activities, and one takes delight in it. One becomes attached to this, wishing to see good things, hear good things, and so on. And there is attachment and delight in all these sensualities. Such delight and attachment is very much like the fisherman or fisherwoman who was very much delighted at first, before he or she saw it as a snake, that it was a big catch. When one sees these three characteristics, or three stripes on the neck of the snake, which he or she thought it was a fish, there was terror, he was stricken by terror, seeing the danger, and become disgusted, dispassionate about this catch, about this thing that he or she was attached to. And when he or she saw these three stripes, he or she would not like to hang on to this, because he or she has found that it was a poisonous snake, so he or she wanted to cast it away, throw it away. So the yogi's desire to discard, to rid herself or himself of these things, Dhamma, mind, body, is very much like the fisherman or woman seeing this snake with the three stripes on it, being deadly poisonous, seeing the danger and wishing to become disgusted, dispassionate about this catch, and not like to hold on anymore, and wishes to cast it away, throw it away. It's like the fisherman who had caught this fish, seeing the danger, becoming disgusted. So too with the yogis, in order to see dangers in this mind, body, sensualities, one has got to look for these dangers, the faults, and by searching, observing, or searching through one's psychophysical phenomena, objects. And then by searching, by practicing mindfulness, purifying one's mind, and seeing the individual essences of states, seeing the process of cause and effect, and continuing to be mindful, progressing along the path, one sees dangers in mind and body, all the sensualities. And one will feel just like the fisherman or woman would not like to hold on to this snake, which he had thought as a fish, becoming disgusted. So too the yogi is seeing the danger in mind, body, and sensualities, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. Seeing the danger, yogi would become disgusted with all these things. And also, just as the fisherman or woman wishes to just let go of it, throw it away, so too, seeing the danger in mind, body, yogi would also like to be free or rid of such things, and he or she would become aware of that. So, in order to see that, to see the terror and danger, one has got to be mindful with the practice of mindfulness, Vipassana, to observe one's mind and body. And for some people, they may say that, they would say that, they already know these characteristics textually, from book knowledge or from learning or from study, that the psychophysical formations are subject to impermanence and so on. And we already know them. Why undertake this practice? We need not take up this practice of Vipassana. If we practice this Vipassana, which can cause a lot of pain, we will only find pain. If we're practicing pain, we will only find pain. It will be very depressing, disheartening. So Nibbana is Santi Sukha. It is the real peace and happiness. So only when you observe or be mindful of Nibbana as such, as peace, then will you be able to achieve peace. That's how they would talk blindly out of a text. What they are saying about this knowledge of the universal characteristics of impermanence and so on is the knowledge through perception or conceptual knowledge, whether it is real or not. It may be just mere fabrication. And when such a talk, such a perception or knowledge is compared to the knowledge of knowledgeable people, knowledgeable in the text of those who have textual knowledge, then their knowledge would be very insignificant. So by just knowing this psychophysical phenomena formations, in this way, will one become stricken with terror, one will become frightened. They will never be frightened on any account. That's why it is said, according to the maxim, conceptual knowledge is not the real one, because they are talking out of the text, not from the text. So they will not be seeing the ultimate realities, and they will not be able to understand the truth, and neither will be able to cultivate knowledge. Their knowledge is just conceptual one. Such people will not be able to know, will be ignorant, they will not know the truth. Instead, they will be knowing the wrong way, and they will be piling up this heap of delusion, moha, patala. Not knowing the truth, one is knowing the wrong way. In this way, these layers of delusion will go on piling up. And it is like having a thick wall of barrier in between the reality and knowledge. So that unless one can penetrate this thick wall, the barrier, one will not be able to see the truth. Instead, one will be deluded in a very thick manner. It's just like a person who has cataract. If one has cataract, one will not be able to see at all, or even one sees, one will be seeing very in a dim manner, deluded manner, not correct, in an incorrect manner, and not be able to see clearly. And so, even if these good companions, Kalyana Mitra, go and tell them about these dangers of mind and body, they will never be terrified. They will think that, oh, this is just wasting time. In this way, they would misunderstand what the Kalyana Mitra are talking about. At this stage, will they see danger in this and become terrified? Never. They will not be able to see these things as regards these sensualities, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and all that sort of thing. Since they don't see danger in it, they will see them as pleasurable. They will think that what's wrong with it? What's wrong with what we are watching, enjoying good film, good picture, good scenery? It is enjoyable. What's wrong with listening to good music? I mean, like pop music, and shaking one's body. What's wrong with it? It's great fun. Might as well enjoy it while we are living, alive. And what's wrong with having good meal, good food, piece of steak or whatever? What's wrong with it? Might as well enjoy it. And what's wrong with this touch, good tangible feeling, especially sexual touch and tangible feeling, and even fantasies? What's wrong with it? You don't spend any money, you don't have to pay for it. You just lie back, lean back, and just stretch your imagination, fantasizing. If I won lotto, what am I going to do? That sort of thing. So they think it's best. You don't have to use any money, spend any money. Free of charge, you can fantasize. So in this way, one will indulge in oneself. With self-indulgence, one will not wish to practice the restraint of one's mind and undertake the practice of meditation. So I will give a simile that it is like the moths at night time when there's electric light or whatever, they rush into these lights only to meet with death. So such kind of pleasure, such kind of self-indulgence is, it may be pleasurable, but it is fatal and dangerous pleasure. And also, it is time wasting. Nowadays, there are many kinds of teachings and many kinds of teachers all over the world. One has to be very careful about them. And under the pretext of this teaching the Dhamma, one may be doing all sorts of things, indulging in these sensualities, and making people to enjoy sexual pleasures at the back of these teachings. This has been prevailing all over the world, and we have to be very careful about it. And this is easy method, self-indulgence, method of indulgence, without undertaking the practice of self-restraint of one's mind. And one will not wish to let go one's fantasies. And one so much attached to this. It's like, will they wish to let go or renounce such things like this throwing away, like the fisherman throwing away, casting away this deadly poisonous snake, which he or she had thought as a fish, big catch. And as for ordinary people who have knowledge, general knowledge, knowledge from true learning and conceptual knowledge, those people who possess such knowledge, For them, it is, they will not be able to practice this mindfulness. They will not be able to do that. Even those who are very knowledgeable in the texts, in the books, in the texts and teachings, it will not be easy for them to have a desire for deliverance. So even in this country, there are many people who are very knowledgeable in the textual, who possess textual knowledge, and they are far from having a desire for deliverance. At this point also, it is food for thought. As regards, as some people say that is that they are practicing this middle way, which is very much weak form of middle way, and one has got to think whether such kind of weak middle way will be profound enough, will be enough to have desire for deliverance. And also, one is trying to be free from this addicted perception of permanence, satisfactoriness, and self, or soul, presence of self or soul, about this mind-body process all along our lifetimes. And in order to be liberated, in order to be free from that, one has got to step up one's knowledge, one's practice again, in order to go through this process of seeing the unsatisfactory, impermanence, and so on, undertaking a practice again. Such is Patisankha Jnana, knowledge of reflection. So this is like the fisherman or woman waving or swinging this deadly poisonous snake over and around his or her head, so as to cast it away, in order to cast away. What has been so far presented is that when one carries on, one continues the practice, practicing this Patisankha Jnana, cultivating this Patisankha Jnana, as one knowledge of reflection becomes strengthened and energized, one comes to the stage of insight knowledge known as Sankarupeka Jnana, knowledge of equanimity about formations. At this stage, one becomes equanimous, neutral, and indifferent about the sensualities, mind-body formations, psychophysical formations, such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. And at this insight knowledge, it lasts, it endures for a long time, and it is the most distinguishing and the best of all these insight knowledge. And as regards its qualities, Late Mahasi Sayadaw has been given this 6 qualities as is given in the text. 3 of equanimity and 3 distinguishing qualities, attributes have been given, and this has been described by the late Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw, which is very encouraging, and we should deal with it to some extent. First quality of equanimity has been given as there's no terror or delight, and no likes or dislikes, no likes or dislikes, no elation or dejection, and one is balanced about all formations. And this way there are 3 quality attributes given. Prior to this insight knowledge of Sankarupeka Jnana, one will experience terror, one will become terrified about reflecting upon the dangers of one's worldly experiences. For instance, at the stage of Paya Jnana, at this stage, as regards one becomes terrified, one will observe this mind-body as being frightful because of the nature of fast arising and passing away. Now, such fright or fear or terror is not the terror in the ordinary sense, like anger, due to anger or ill will, but it is knowledge, as a knowledge, terrified, that knowledge of terror, just nature of knowledge, knowledgeable, or accompanied, terror accompanied with knowledge. And at this stage, as one undertakes the practice, one becomes dispassionate, disgusted, and having a desire for deliverance, and repeated practice in order to be delivered from the dangers of mind, body. At this Sankharuppeka jnana, there's no such thing as terror or fright. There's no such thing as worry. And one is free from even this worry and terror about one's own practice. One becomes very calm and collected at this stage, and the noting mind, observation becomes very easy and fluid. So one is free from this, as the attribute which is being given is one is free from fright, and one is balanced between one is neither overcome by likes or dislikes, elation or dejection. One is just walking along the path of practice in a very fluid manner, in an easy manner. And there is neither delight, neither gladness or sadness about these formations. Hence one is able to live with equanimity, upekaka viharati. One's attitude becomes very balanced. How is it balanced? In what way is it balanced? Sattva samajana. Because one is mindful and fully aware of all formations. And this such is one attribute of this Sankharuppeka jnana, knowledge about formations. Because sati is mindfulness is very steadfast, so is the concentration which become intensified, so that even one is coming to experiencing these worldly conditions, one will not be overcome by these worldly conditions. One will not be because these worldly conditions will not take the upper hand. Because at this stage of Sankharuppeka jnana, as the knowledge becomes very deepened, the mind also becomes well developed, reaching the full maturity. And as the sati and samadhi, mindfulness and concentration build up, with this build-up mind, one is able to gain the upper hand of all these worldly conditions, because one's knowledge becomes very matured and experienced and skilled, so that one will be able to withstand all these onslaught of worldly conditions. So that it is said that one becomes neither glad nor sad about desirable or undesirable things. One will be able to just practice mindfulness and full awareness in a balanced manner. Such is a very essential necessity, attribute. So that the Master Sayadaw has given this maxim that one is able to be balanced between happiness and suffering, and there will be no gladness or sadness about these objects, and one is so much balanced in one's practice with steadfast mindfulness. At this stage, one's mentality is not different from that of an arahant. Such has been given as an attribute to this knowledge. At this Sankharuppeka jnana, one becomes balanced about these noted objects. That is, the formations, one is indifferent and neutral towards all formations. That means formations in the form of objects which are noted So the question arises at this point. Is the Sankarupaka only indifferent towards only these objects? How about the insight, Vipassana consciousness, the noting mind? Is it also indifferent towards this noting mind as well? And at this point, the sub-commentaries have explained that just like Sankarupaka was able to be indifferent towards noted objects, it is also indifferent towards the noting mind, that is the mentality. And it is also indifferent and neutral towards the noting mind. So that at the Sankarupaka jnana, it is one is indifferent towards the noted object or objects of formations which are noted, as well as the noting mind or noting consciousness, Vipassana mind. Prior to this knowledge and the lower stages of insight knowledge, one has got to exert attention towards the object to be noted, as well as to be able to sustain one's mindfulness on the object, to be connected with the object. So one has got to exert attention as regard for the object as well as the noting mind, such as application of the initial application of this energy, initial launching energy, and when one in the course of the practice, one builds up momentum, one has to step up one's energy to overcome difficulties, to be liberated from difficulties, and then the final energy to reach the goal. And at the stage of Arada Virya, one is cultivating this, practicing this Pegahida Virya, uplifting energy, uplifting by stages, and a kind of energy which will uplift you, but not let you go down, not let you stagnate in the middle, but to go up and up until you reach the fulfillment, Paripurna Virya. At this Sankarupaka jnana, one is said to have reached the fulfilled energy, Paripurna Virya. So that after, when one is noting 4 or 5 times as regards these noted objects like rising, falling, sitting, touching and so on, after one has got to note only 4 or 5 times, then later one does not need to exert attention. One will be just building up, one's noting mind will be building up one's own momentum, and the noting mind will become very fluid and easy at the stage of this fulfilled energy, Paripurna Virya. Some will even give these similes. When one is writing with a pen or ball pen or fountain pen, after writing 4 or 5 words or a sentence, one after exerting in the beginning, then one does not need to exert anymore. The pen, the ball pen, the fountain pen writes by itself. So too with the practice at this stage, when one notes rising, falling, sitting, touching 4 or 5 times or 10 times, just initiating one's practice, so to speak. This is not yet the Sankarupaka jnana, it is the prior to this Sankarupaka, lower insight stages. One has got to wake up this one's mindfulness, just initiate it, so to speak, with 4 or 5 or 10 times, noting 10 times. Later on, it becomes so good that it is building up its momentum. One does not need to exert any attention. Instead, the objects are coming up, ready to be noted, as though the objects are beckoning you, calling you, inviting you. Please come and note me, that sort of thing. And the noting mind is very easy, and one can note in a very fluid and easy manner. In this way, the practice is said to be building up its own momentum, running, cruising along in a fluid manner, without any exertion, without any special attention. The noting mind becomes very good, and the practice goes very well. So too, this practice is going on its own. And also it's like, we compare this also to a vehicle, right? Driving a vehicle on a freeway, early on a Sunday morning where there's no traffic. the vehicle also is very good. Say, let us say a new Volkswagen or whatever. Then when you're driving, you are driving very easily, as though the car is driving, and not you are driving. But the car is driving on your own. And also, there's an example which I was given as an up country, in some countryside, people in the countryside, they used to carry loads on a pole, put on their shoulder, and each end of the pole is tied to some load, some buckets or whatever, so that it is balanced. And of course the pole is just moving up and down while the man is going, walking, carrying this load. And after a few steps, it is set, maybe a fabrication, the load or the pole is carrying him instead of he carrying the load. And the load or the pole is so swinging up and down, moving up and down. It is building up its own momentum, so that it looks as though it is carrying, taking away this man, so that the man doesn't need any exertion, any attention. So too, at this stage of Sankarupaka Jnana, yogi's noting mind is going so well that he or she, his or her noting mind is moving along automatically without you having to exert special attention. So it is tantamount to saying the yogi is riding on it, riding on the practice. Instead of he or she has got to undertake the practice is taking away this yogi along in freely and fluid manner, easy manner. So he or she is riding along the practice after initiating 4 or 5 notes or 10 notes at the most. This is the one when one reaches the stage of Paripurna Virya, the fulfilled energy. So besides we have given the 6 attributes. So the 3 attributes we have given is one is indifferent towards terror and delight. One is indifferent, neutral towards pleasure and pain, and easy and fluid mindfulness. And 3 other attributes are this. Mindfulness becomes very easy and fluid, with 3 attributes of equanimity about formations. And in this way, this Sankarupaka has been given these attributes. The 3 other attributes, distinguishing or special attributes of Sankarupaka will be explained tomorrow. That's all.